Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. Dynamite tonight was from the Daily's Place in Jacksonville, Florida, as they end up calling this show Homecoming because, they were back in Jacksonville. The crowd was hot there tonight, all through the 2 hours of the show. And Dynamite tonight, I thought it was a good show. Enjoy Dynamite tonight. We had Hangman Adam Page versus Claudio Castagnoli. We had an 8-man tag team match where it was Orange Cassidy, Dustin Rhodes, Adam Copeland, and Preston Vance. And they have taken on Lance Archer, Brian Cage, and the Gates of Agony. Toa Leona and Kong. And we also had Sammy Guevara versus Ricky Starks. Kris Statlander, Thunder Rosa, Willow, Nightingale, and Anna Jay versus Julia Hart, Skye Blue, Saraya, and Ruby Soho in a 8-woman tag team match. We also had Roderick Strong in action, where we have taken on the bounty hunter, Brian Keith. And the main event, we had a Texas Tornado match. Sting and Darby Allin versus Powerhouse, Will Hobbs, and Konosuke Takeshita of the Don Callis family. But overall, Dynamite tonight, good show it was. Really enjoyed it. But anyways, let's jump right into the review. So, Dynamite tonight opened up with Hangman Adam Page versus Claudio Castagnoli. And this was a great match here. This felt like a pay-per-view quality match here between these two. I thought the wrestling from both Claudio and Page here was very good. The crowd was hot throughout this match. They were really entertained by these two. So the match got underway. Both Claudio and Page ended up going at it. Claudio ended up turning things around where he laid an uppercut on Page against the barricade. So Castagnoli ended up bringing Page back into the ring, but Hangman ended up catching Claudio with the flurry of punches, and then he ended up bringing Claudio into the ring. Claudio ended up catching Page in the corner, and we had Claudio end up going to work on Hangman's face. Page started to fight out, but he was sent into the corner by Claudio. Claudio ended up driving his boots into Page. Page ended up being brought back up, which allowed Claudio to lay in some punches and some uppercuts to Page. And then we had Claudio end up dropping Page down, which led to the swing, of course, Claudio's famous swing. So Claudio was just swinging around Page, and he ended up transitioning into a sharpshooter. And Hangman ended up trying to counter out of that. And then Claudio then locked in a crossface instead on Page. Page ended up getting Claudio on his shoulders for a near fall. So he ended up breaking up the crossface. So both Claudio and Page were on their feet, and they were trading punches back and forth. Claudio ended up laying in some headbutts and some uppercuts to Page, and then Page ended up catching Claudio with a backslide, and then Claudio ended up kicking out. So Page ended up delivering a slam to Claudio. He ended up keeping Claudio down. Page ended up getting back to his feet for a springboard lariat, which sent Claudio to the outside. Page ended up hitting a plancha to Claudio, and he kept control of the match. And he ended up drinking a pint that was from a fan. So that was pretty cool. So Claudio and Page got back into the ring. Page ended up charging at Claudio, only for Page to be sent over the top rope with a press slam. And he ended up sending Page to the ramp outside, which Page ended up hitting the ramp hard. So then Dynamite went to commercial. They went to the picture-in-picture. During the picture-in-picture, we saw Page slowly managing to get back into the ring. before being counted out, but Claudio maintained control of the match. And then as Dynamite came back from the commercial, Page ended up sending Claudio into the corner. He ended up charging at him, and then Page was sent right back to the ramp. Claudio then followed up with a series of uppercuts to Page, which sent Page further and further up the ramp. And so Page started fighting back with some forearms to Claudio. Claudio was sent to the ropes. Page ended up running down the ramp. He ended up hitting a clothesline that sent Claudio over the top rope and back into the ring. Page then tried to do the buckshot lariat, but Claudio delivered a European uppercut to Page. So Claudio ended up going for the cover, and Page ended up kicking out. So Claudio, at this point, started taunting Page with some kicks to his face. Page ended up getting to his feet, and it's led to both men trading strikes to each other. They ended up taking each other over to the floor outside. Claudio then hoisted Page up on his shoulder, but Page ended up fighting out. And then both guys went back into the ring. Page ended up managing to get a near fall on Claudio. Claudio then took control of the match again. He ended up bringing Page down, and he ended up going for the cover, to which Page ended up kicking out. And we had Page end up hitting a dead eye, and he ended up going for the cover, and Claudio kicked out. But Claudio started fighting back, and Claudio was overcome by 2 buckshot lariats from Page. And so Page ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Hangman Adam Page ended up winning the match. Overall, this was a great match. Like I said, this was a pay-per-view quality match here with Claudio and Page here. I mean, the wrestling from both of these guys was very good here, and the crowd was just really into it. Hot throughout this match. But very good match it was. And then we had a 8-man tag. This is in recognition of Brody Lee, because the legacy of Brody Lee in AEW is still being felt to this day. We had a video package of that. Brody Lee, may he rest in peace. So this 8-man tag, we had Lance Archer, Brian Cage, and the Gates of Agony. We had Kong and Toa Liona versus Orange Cassidy, Dustin Rhodes, Adam Copeland, and Preston Vance. And Adam Copeland got a good reaction there in Jacksonville. His first time, competing in Jacksonville in the Daily's place. And this was a decent 8-man tag here. Match started off with Dustin Rhodes and Khan of the Gates of Agony. And we had Khan end up getting the upper hand on Dustin Rhodes. Dustin then tagged in Preston Vance. We had Khan and Preston Vance end up locking up. Khan then ended up sending Vance into the corner. And then he tagged in Brian Cage. Preston Vance ended up catching Brian Cage. And he ended up tagging in Adam Copeland. Copeland delivered some offense on Brian Cage, and then he ended up tagging in Orange Cassidy. Cassidy ended up taking Brian Cage down for a pin, and Cage ended up kicking out. And he ended up trying to go for a choke slam, and we have Brian Cage end up dropping Orange Cassidy, and then Khan and Toa Liona end up getting involved. Orange Cassidy ended up trying to take the Gates of Agony down, but the Gates of Agony were just being down on Orange Cassidy. They ended up sending Orange Cassidy rolling out of the ring, and Dynamite went to commercial. Then when Dynamite came back from the commercial, we had Lance Archer. Lance Archer ended up sending Orange Cassidy flying with a vertical suplex, and he ended up catching Orange Cassidy in the corner with a strike. Cassidy ended up trying to fight back, and he ended up taking a knee from Lance Archer. So Jose, the assistant, he tried to intervene, but Jose ended up getting attacked by the legendary Jake the Snake Roberts, who accompanied Lance Archer to the ring. So that was pretty cool there. Jake the Snake Roberts, attacking Jose, laying at it, to Jose. So Orange Cassidy ended up fighting back to Lance Archer. He ended up delivering some kicks to Archer, and he ended up taking him down with a DDT. So he ended up getting the tag as Khan ended up coming in. So we had chaos ensue between all these men. They ended up going after each other. Cage ended up getting dropped by Copeland. And then Leona ended up catching Copeland by surprise. Cassidy ended up getting in a choke slam on Leona. Lance Archer ended up rushing in with a slam. He ended up sending Preston Vance into a Samoan drop by Khan. So Khan ended up bringing Preston Vance to his feet. He ended up getting nailed with a big boot by Lance Archer. And at this point, it led to an argument between Lance Archer and Brian Cage. So Brian Cage ended up sending Archer out of the ring. Copeland ended up hitting him with a spear. Preston Vance ended up taking advantage of this whole chaos as Leona ended up coming back to the ring. Preston Vance ended up hitting the discus lariat to Leona in honor of Brody Lee. And so Preston Vance ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Orange Cassidy, Dustin Rhodes, Adam Copeland, and Preston Vance win this decent 8-man tag. So, like I said, decent 8-man tag it was. A lot of moving pieces here. And, everyone that was involved in this match, had their time to, get over. And it was a nice win for Preston Vance off the discus lariat in honor of Brody Lee. And then we have Renee Paquette. Renee Paquette was backstage. She was talking to Bullet Club Gold about the situation with the Undisputed Kingdom. So Bullet Club Gold was interrupted by the Acclaimed. And they looked to align with Bullet Club Gold. Maskcaster ended up telling them that they don't have to be friends and that they just have to work together. And Bullet Club Gold didn't seem to be up for them working together with the Acclaimed. So they just end up walking off, and that was that. So they want no business with the Acclaimed. Even though Max Caster ended up telling them that, we could just work together. We don't have to be friends. So Bullet Club Gold doesn't want nothing to do with the Acclaimed. And then we had Samoa Joe. We had the AEW World Champion. He made his way out, and he was wearing a nice suit. And he introduced himself to the crowd as the new world champion. And the crowd was chanting, "Thank you, Joe." Joe ended up saying, "No thanks is needed." He ended up saying, "Tonight, we make some changes to the championship challenge and protocol." Joe ended up saying that when you're the champ, you have a target on your back. But if anyone's running things, it's him. Joe ended up saying that in light of that, here are the changes. He ended up saying, no more will you have to come out to the ring and complain or make your comments on social media. He ended up saying, instead, you bring your record and accomplishments. And if you qualify, you have an express pass to come out here and get stomped in front of everyone who wants to cheer for you. Joe went on to say that the new championship era is here. And for all those who want to challenge, he will be waiting. So this brought out, whose house? Swerve's house. Swerve Strickland. Swerve ended up coming out alongside the Mogul Embassy. Of course, we had Prince Nana out there doing his great dance. So Swerve had a mic in hand. He riled up the crowd, and this is Swerve's first time in Daly's Place. And he kept saying he's going to call this whose house? And then everyone said Swerve's house. It got that from the crowd. Swerve got into the ring, and he was referring to a situation with Page, saying that he's going to take the World Championship. He kept saying when he takes the title and Joe chooses to make this personal, he will be more than happy to. So this led to a stare down between both Samoa Joe and Swerve. And then we got Hangman Page coming out. Page came out. He also had a mic in hand. He got into the ring. Page ended up saying that if we're out here calling our shots and making our New Year's resolutions, he will make his. He wanted to say that he got to do a lot. But one thing he lost was the AEW World Championship. He kept saying this year, he will make it his. So Swerve ended up saying that he has some words for Page, as Prince Nana tried to get Swerve to leave the ring. And him and the Mogul Embassy end up leaving. So Page then ended up addressing Joe, saying that he hasn't forgotten what he did to Page. Page didn't forget what Joe ended up doing to him. And Page ended up saying that he will take the AEW World Championship from Joe for it. So Page then left the ring. He went up the ramp. Samoa Joe stood tall with the World Championship. And then Hook ended up coming out. So Hook ended up making his way down the ramp. Of course, the FTW champion. Hook then circled around the ring. He was staring Samoa Joe down. He stepped into the ring, and we had a standoff with Joe and Hook. And the standoff ended up with Hook saying 1 week. And he ended up leaving the ring. And, we're going to be getting next week on Dynamite, Samoa Joe versus Hook for the AEW World Championship. But very good segment this was. Joe was great on the mic. And it got interesting. Where we're going to go. Hangman Page, he wants another shot at the AEW World Championship, because he lost. He lost it. And then you have also Swerve, want to go after the World Championship. So I think after Samoa Joe versus Hook on Dynamite next week for the World Championship, that Samoa Joe is going to retain the title. I think after that we're going to be getting probably a three-way match. Samoa Joe versus Swerve versus Hangman and Page for the World Championship. So I see that happening. So overall, good segment this was with Samoa Joe and Swerve, Page, and Hook. And then we have Renee Paquette. Renee Paquette was talking to Timeless Toni Storm and Mariah May. Toni Storm ended up saying that she didn't get to see Mariah May's debut, but hopes all the best. So Renee ended up asking Toni Storm about Deonna Purrazzo. Of course, Deonna Purrazzo made her AEW debut last week. She's going to have her AEW in-ring debut this Saturday on Collision. So Toni Storm ended up saying that she wants info on Deonna. I think she ended up calling her Donna. So That's what Toni Storm said. She wants info on Deonna Purrazzo. She had leaving Mariah May behind. And then Toni Storm walked off with Luther. And that was basically that. And then we had Sammy Guevara versus Ricky Starks. And this was a good match here between these two. So both men end up locking up. And they were trading holds. Starks end up hitting Guevara to drop him down to the canvas. And Starks end up posing. Guevara was in the corner. Starks end up going back to working on Guevara, but Guevara ended up fighting back. He then hit a drop kick, which sent Starks rolling to the outside. So Guevara delivered a baseball slide drop kick to Starks. He then climbed up the top, and he delivered a moonsault, which dropped Starks to the floor. Nice moonsault from Guevara there. So Guevara then hopped on the barricade. He celebrated with the crowd. He was taking it in from the pop from the crowd there in Jacksonville. And he ended up going back on the attack on Starks by delivering a chop to him, which sent Starks back into the ring and in the corner. So Guevara ended up hitting a chop and a kick to Starks. He ended up charging for a shoulder strike to Starks. So we had both Guevara and Starks were on the apron. They were fighting back and forth. Starks was looking to go for the Rochambeau, but Guevara ended up fighting out of that. So Guevara ended up hitting another chop to Starks. Guevara then delivered another chop, but Starks responded by dropping Guevara on the apron. And Dynamite went to commercial. Then when Dynamite came back from the commercial, we had Guevara end up fighting Starks. He ended up sending Starks to the ropes. He ended up stopping Starks with a big kick. He ended up going for the cover, to which Starks ended up kicking out. Guevara then headed to the corner, but he was then intercepted by Starks. He ended up wearing Guevara down. So we had Guevara end up going for a moonsault, but Starks ended up hitting him with a boot to his face. And then Starks ended up delivering a sit-out powerbomb to Guevara. He ended up going for the cover. Guevara ended up kicking out. Guevara was in the corner as Starks ended up charging at him, but Guevara ended up leapfrogging. He ended up getting a cover, only for it to get reversed by Starks. Starks ended up getting a near fall, but he was taken down with another kick from Guevara. So Guevara ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Sammy Guevara ended up winning the match. But good match this was with Guevara and Starks here. I liked Guevara's attire there, all in Buzz Lightyear. So really like that. So post-match, we had Big Bill, Ricky Starks' tag team partner. We had him come out, being down on Guevara. So Guevara and Big Bill were being down on Guevara. And then Jericho ended up running down to make the save. Judas was playing throughout Daily's place. So we had Jericho and Big Bill end up going at it. And Guevara was being down on Ricky Starks. And what was really funny was Judas was still playing in Daily's place when this beatdown between these guys was happening, which I thought was funny. I thought Judas fit, the beatdown that, that these guys were going at it, Jericho and Big Bill and Ricky Starks and Guevara. Just ended up fitting the brawl between these guys. So Big Bill and Ricky Starks end up running off. Jericho and Guevara end up celebrating, and they went to the back, and pretty much that was basically that. And then we had an 8-woman tag team match in recognition of Brody Lee. So we had an 8-man tag and we had an 8-woman tag tonight. So it was Kris Statlander, Thunder Rosa, Will Nightingale, and Anna Jay versus Julia Hart, Skye Blue, Saraya, and Ruby Soho. So Willow Nightingale made her way out to the ring first, and then out came Kris Statlander. Kris Statlander ended up brushing off Stokely Hathaway's offer for him to manage her because Stokely Hathaway really wants to manage Kris Statlander, but Kris Statlander just keeps on, brushing Stokely off. And then Anna Jay ended up coming out. Of course, Anna Jay had to be in this match because she was handpicked by Brody Lee to join the Dark Order. If you remember that, a couple years back. So next came Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa ended up coming out. And then we had the Outcasts, Saraya and Ruby Soho, end up coming out, which was followed up by Skye Blue. And then Julia Hart, the TBS champion, was the last to come out. And Julia Hart has one of the best entrances in AEW next to Toni Storm. So I just love that, entrance of Julia Hart. It's just absolutely great. We got a nice shot of Julia Hart standing on the ropes, as she made her way into the ring. It was just great. But this was a okay 8-woman tag here. Match started off with Ruby Soho and Anna Jay. They end up locking up. Anna Jay ended up decking Ruby Soho with a forearm, and she ended up slapping Soho's face. And Anna Jay ended up sending Soho into the corner. Anna Jay then tagged in Kris Statlander. Kris Statlander delivered a body slam to Ruby Soho and a sliding lariat. So Statlander tagged Anna Jay back in. So Anna Jay had some nice quick offense here on Ruby Soho. Anna Jay then tagged Willow Nightingale in. Willow Nightingale ended up getting a few shots to Ruby Soho. And then Nightingale ended up tagging in Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa ended up sending Ruby Soho into the corner. Soho started fighting Thunder Rosa off. And then we had Ruby Soho end up tagging in Julia Hart. So we had Thunder Rosa and Julia Hart were circling the canvas. Skye Blue ended up jumping in to cause a distraction, which led to Julia Hart taking advantage of the match. And then Julia Hart ended up taking in Saraya. Saraya was doing some more damage to Thunder Rosa. So we had Saraya end up taking in Ruby Soho. Ruby Soho was looking to get some revenge on Thunder Rosa. She ended up taunting, her opponents. And then Thunder Rosa ended up catching Soho off guard. She had pinned a drop toe hold and a drop kick to Soho. So Ruby Soho was in the corner. Thunder Rosa ended up tagging in Willow Nightingale. And we had a nice double team on Ruby Soho from Willow Nightingale and Thunder Rosa here. So Willow Nightingale ended up climbing up to the top. And Aubrey Edwards got distracted, which allowed Willow Nightingale to get pulled down by Harley Cameron. Of course, Harley Cameron, she's managing Saraya and Ruby Soho, now the Outcasts. So Dynamite went to commercial. So then when Dynamite came back from the commercial, Julia Hart ended up coming in. Willow Nightingale ended up evading, Julia Hart and Skye Blue. And we saw during the picture-in-picture, Harley Cameron was getting involved here. So Willow Nightingale ended up tagging in Kris Statlander. She ended up unleashing a flurry of offense, clearing out the ring. So Saraya was the legal woman in here, and she was taken down by Kris Statlander. So Kris Statlander ended up going for the cover, and Saraya ended up kicking out. So chaos ensued with all these 8 women, and these 8 women in the ring, they end up delivering a massive suplex spot, which that was really cool. So at the end of the match, Sky Blue cleared the ring. She ended up getting caught with the Queen Slayer, and Anna Jay locked it in on Sky Blue. Sky Blue ended up tapping out. So there you go. Kris Statlander, Thunder Rosa, Will Nightingale, and Anna Jay end up winning this 8-woman tag. But overall, it was an okay 8-woman's tag. Wasn't bad. And then we had Wheeler Yuta. This was a video package where Wheeler Yuta ended up saying that he is no one's young boy. And he ended up saying that he's seeking to get one over on Eddie Kingston. And it's going to be Wheeler Yuta versus Eddie Kingston for the Continental Crown Championship, the Continental Championship on Rampage on Friday. So that's taking place on Rampage. And then we had Roderick Strong versus the bounty hunter, Bryan Keith. This was a quick match here. Of course, we had the Undisputed Kingdom. They made their way to the ring. So Roderick Strong and Bryan Keith end up locking up. They were trading holds. Bryan Keith ended up catching Roderick Strong with a big boot. He ended up keeping his attack on Roderick Strong with some strikes. He ended up sending Strong into the ropes. Strong ended up forcing a rope break, only to be sent to the apron by Bryan Keith. Bryan Keith then continued on Roderick Strong. He then ended up getting decked by Roderick Strong, who ended up bringing Bryan Keith back into the ring. He was delivering some stomps in the corner. He ended up sending Bryan Keith up for the end of Heartache, but Bryan ended up fighting out of it. So, at the end of the match, we had Roderick Strong end up catching Bryan Keith with the end of Heartache, so he ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Roderick Strong ended up winning the match. Obviously, we all knew Roderick Strong was going to get the win. So post-match, Adam Cole got on the mic. He ended up sitting on a chair in the ring. He ended up hyping up the Undisputed Kingdom. He ended up addressing how things are going to change in AEW. So Cole then talked up Roderick Strong's legacy and how the Kingdom, Mike Bennett and Matt Taven are being the best Ring of Honor tag team champions of all time. And then Adam Cole then put over the monster. That is Wardlow. He ended up saying now that Wardlow is surrounded by people that actually respect him, the group is going to win the AEW World Championship. He ended up saying, boys and girls, say hello to your new home. Or should he say, Adam Cole say, your new kingdom. He ended up saying, make sure you get comfortable, because they are going to be here for a very, very long time. So that was what Adam Cole had to say. This reminded me of, Adam Cole doing this last week on Dynamite, where he put over Roderick Strong, how Roderick Strong is his best friend. And also the Kingdom, Mike Bennett, Matt Taven being the best Ring of Honor tag team champions. And then putting over Wardlow. Now, the look on Wardlow's face there, it looked like he didn't even want to be there. He looks like he doesn't want to be a part of the group. Because he's standing there like dazed, like he doesn't even care. And I'm surprised his hair grew back that fast. So then we saw Renee Paquette. Renee Paquette was backstage. She was talking to Deonna Purrazzo about what Toni Storm said earlier in the night. So Deonna Purrazzo ended up saying, that's fine. She ended up saying that she's looking forward to seeing Toni Storm ahead of her in-ring debut, at Collision on Saturday. And this brought out Red Velvet. Red Velvet ended up laying out a challenge for the night. She was talking about stirring it up with Deonna. So Deonna ended up asking Red Velvet about which arm is her stirring. And then Deonna ended up walking off. And then Red Velvet looked all confused by what Deonna ended up saying. That was basically that. Main event. We had the Texas Tornado match. Sting and Darby Allin versus Konosuke Takeshita and Powerhouse Will Hobbs, both of the Don Callis family. Jim Ross was on commentary. He was calling the match. So Ric Flair ended up coming out. Woo! The Nature Boy, Ric Flair. And he ended up accompanying Darby Allin and Sting. And then out came the Don Callis family of Konosuke Takeshita and Powerhouse Will Hobbs. Don Callis was also out there. So the match ended up getting on the way. Sting ended up going after Powerhouse Hobbs. Darby ended up focusing on Takeshita. We had Sting ended up sending Hobbs to the outside. Takeshita ended up catching Darby Allin on the outside. So Sting and Hobbs end up battling through the crowd. And then Darby and Takeshita end up going into the crowd as well. Sting ended up sending Hobbs on a ride on a road case. And Takeshita ended up slowly bringing Darby back to ringside. He ended up laying Darby out with a chop in front of Ric Flair. Darby ended up managing to fight back against Takeshita. He ended up setting up for a coffin drop off the top turnbuckle. But Takeshita caught Darby. He ended up hitting a rolling German suplex to Darby on the floor. That rolling German suplex from Takeshita to Darby looked very good. But then Dynamite went to commercial. Then when Dynamite came back from the commercial, Hobbs was in control of the match. He delivered a body slam on Darby. And he ended up going for the cover, but Sting broke up the pin. So we had Hobbs that ended up getting a chair to keep on the offense on Darby. And then Ric Flair ended up coming into the ring. He had a standoff with Hobbs. Flair then ended up hitting some strikes, which allows Sting to intervene. And Darby and Sting ended up taking Takeshita and also Hobbs on something that would stroll up the ramp. So at the end of the match, we had Sting end up managing to drop an arm over Hobbs because we had Sting and Hobbs end up going right back, fighting alongside the front row of the bleachers, and they end up both dropping through a table. So Sting ended up getting the cover on Hobbs, and there you go. Darby Allin and Sting ended up winning the match, and Hobbs ended up taking another loss. So, post-match, we had Tony Schiavone. He was standing by, and he ended up talking to Sting about Revolution in March, and it being his final match. So Tony Schiavone ended up asking who Sting's final opponent will be. And before Sting could answer that, Sting was interrupted by the Young Bucks. So the Young Bucks ended up walking onto the stage. The Bucks were staring down at both Sting and Darby. And pretty much, basically, we had Sting and Darby Allin having a stare down with the Bucks. The Bucks ended up making their way to the back. And that was how Dynamite went off the air. Overall, this was a very good Texas Tornado match. And the end there with the Young Bucks, coming out there, eyeing Sting and Darby Allin. This could be Sting's final match here, where he teams with Darby Allin to take on the Young Bucks at Revolution. So I think that's what they're going for. But overall, Dynamite tonight, very good show it was. Enjoyed it. But anyways, that's it for the AEW Dynamite review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I maybe we'll do a live watch along on Friday for SmackDown. So possibly may do that, on Friday. But until then, if I do the other watch along, I'll see you then. If not, I will be in Disney World starting on Saturday. So definitely gonna do some vlogs down there in Orlando at Disney World. So stay tuned for those. But anyways, I'll see you all later.